Until recently, a big house required a big furnace to keep it warm in the winter. Advances in heat exchange technology, as well as control systems that are essentially tiny computers, have changed all that.
Depending on where you live, the old, creaky furnace in the basement has almost become a cliche. How big are these things anyway?
These things use up a lot of fuel, and they take up a lot of space. I don't even know how they got this thing down here.
Right? You know, these monsters are a thing of the past.
Yep, new furnaces are smaller and more efficient than ever. And leading the way is the Dettson Chinook, giving you the right size system for your home.
Smaller, more efficient? Sounds good to me. I bet we could get a decent sized closet in this space.
I could use a bigger closet.
Located in Sherbrooke, Quebec, the Dettson plant is where the Chinook furnace is manufactured. Sherbrooke has seen a cold Canadian winter or two, so it's no surprise that it's also the home of Dettson Industries. There isn't anything the folks at Dettson don't know about heating equipment. They've been building it for over 60 years.
Dettson Industries has been in business since 1951. We have been traditionally producing heating appliances. We started off as an electric boiler company, and in 1982 we built a 150,000 square foot building to have our production facility as well as our labs in. Through the years we've developed making oil furnaces as well as oil boilers and electrical warm air furnaces as well.
Ron, I'm freezing.
You know, and 5 minutes ago I was sweating. This furnace can't seem to keep the right temperature.
Well, that's what you get with an old furnace. The thermostat reads the temperature, and when it gets chilly outside, it tells the furnace to turn on and start blowing hot air.
Yeah, until it gets too hot.
That's right. The furnace keeps blowing hot air until it reaches the desired temperature. The only problem is some of the rooms in the house get really hot.
This is what's called an overshoot. The furnace shuts off, the house cools off, but the furnace doesn't turn on again until the whole house reaches a certain temperature. And by that time, well, I'm sure you can guess.
Ron, I'm freezing. This can't be efficient.
You think?
Right?
The houses are getting more and more tight and well isolated. So if you have a 45,000 BTU unit that's in a house that's sized for a 15,000 BTU unit, well, you're gonna have some big overshoots, and that's a problem because it's gonna be very uncomfortable for the homeowner.
Furnace manufacturers are always trying to come up with new ways to eliminate temperature overshoots. Dettson engineers have tackled this problem by building a furnace that runs almost all the time, but uses way less energy.
With the smaller systems and modulating systems, you can go very low in BTU input, and you have a right-sized furnace.
The Chinook avoids overshoots by running almost all the time, but only blowing a little bit of air through the heating ducts. This is called modulation.
Ron, have you ever driven standard before?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Ease up on the gas pedal. See? There you go. And that's exactly what modulation looks like. Instead of all the stopping and starting, we have a nice smooth ride. And it's better on the gas mileage too. Home heating technology has come a long way. It used to be that a big old house
Would require a big furnace, but that's not the case anymore with the newer and smaller units that are on the market today. One of the smallest and most efficient is the Dettson Chinook. The Chinook actually has the smallest footprint of any gas furnace that's on the market today.
Yeah, Ron, the biggest challenge isn't going to be installing the new Chinook furnace. It'll be taking that monster out of the basement. Good luck.
Yeah, thanks.
Unlike large conventional furnaces, the Chinook doesn't blast air through the ducts at a high rate of speed for short periods of time. Instead, it uses smaller parts and pumps the air slowly, gently, and constantly across the furnace's heat exchangers. This makes the furnace far more efficient by using less gas to warm up a larger volume of air.
The Chinook is what is known as a modulating furnace. Instead of working really, really hard to heat up the house and then waiting for it to cool down, then working really, really hard again.
The Chinook runs a lot slower for a lot longer. It's sort of like using a roundabout when you're driving. Starting and stopping your car's engine will use your gas up. However, when you're on a roundabout, you may slow down, but you never really stop, so your fuel efficiency goes way up, sort of like the Chinook.
And with houses being built a lot tighter and much more energy efficient, there's little need for these big honking furnaces down in the basement.
Furnaces of the past had to be oversized, using a lot more BTUs because so much heat energy was being wasted through poorly insulated windows, walls, and roofs. Additionally, the old air duct systems weren't very good either, leaking warm air at every turn, making it difficult to evenly heat the entire house, especially rooms located a far distance from the furnace. But now, unlike homes in the past, today's homes are better insulated and tighter, what builders call the envelope. Vapor barriers, better insulation, and plastic sheathing prevent drafts and less outside air from leaking in through cracks and crevices. With all of these improvements and new duct technology that leaks less, the Chinook can afford to be smaller and doesn't need to work as hard to push warm air to the furthest parts of the home.
What our research show and what the new building codes bring and the knowledge of the envelope, the home, the residential envelope, is that a continuous conditioning of the home is better than a big shoot and a stop.
The unit itself is insulated. All the walls have panels of insulation installed during final assembly. This prevents both heat and noise from escaping. It also has the added benefit of making the Chinook virtually zero clearance. This means it doesn't need any space around it, so it can be hung on a wall or hidden away in a closet.
Here we are at the final station for the assembly of the Chinook furnace. Right now we are putting the power on the machine and actually testing for the combustion itself. So we have to know that each and every unit that is made out of our facility is fully tested before being shipped.
One of the advantages of the Chinook is the ability to store it anywhere.
Anywhere?
Well, almost anywhere. Not just in a closet, but in places you wouldn't normally think to put a furnace. The great thing about the Chinook is that you can store it a long way away from the vent.
How far away?
A very long way. Now get back here. We're not done yet.
We also work with the contractors, installers, to understand what's the best disposal of the components for them to go and work into your furnace, such as no sharp edges, such as components that face the contractor when he does the maintenance.
Furnace manufacturers are constantly looking for ways to improve their products. For instance, Dettson makes sure that all the parts that are likely to come into contact with moisture, primarily the heat exchangers, are made with stainless steel, so they won't rust.
We both add the primary and secondary in high-grade stainless steel extruded tube, which makes it more reliable to have a furnace that will be lasting, rather than having clamp systems or aluminized steel. So having this higher grade, we are one of the only manufacturers who use those higher grade stainless steel in the heat exchanger.
Improved building requirements are changing the way that heating and air conditioning units are designed.
Overall, the houses have got much tighter with the new building codes in Canada and in the US. So it's anywhere between 25 and 33% more efficient as an envelope. This is achieved by better insulation, better wrapping. So it's not one factor, it's many factors that are achieved through the windows, through the insulation, through the basement walls insulation, through the attic insulation as well. So it's a combination of many different factors.
The folks at Dettson call this philosophy a right-size system. And now, many of the advances that have been made in their heating systems are starting to be featured in smaller cooling systems too.
From the Chinook, which is the gas furnace, we will also go into the cooling. For us, the Chinook is the pivot of our development. And now we want to be able to offer a system to the homeowner and the builders. So we will have modulating air conditioning as well. So with our more right-sized approach of furnaces, we will have the right-sized approach to cooling as well. And when we talked about continuous heating and having the proper BTUs, we want to do the same with the tonnage into the cooling. So in the summertime, to have the same operation, which is a quiet and steady treatment of the envelope.
The Chinook, a smaller footprint than pretty much any other furnace that's on the market today. And it's certainly more efficient than the furnaces we grew up with.
Ron, did they have furnaces when you were growing up?
Seriously?